What is going on, my Super Sandwiches? Rhymestyle here, and today I want to put together a discussion for Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle and the future of this game, just due to the fact of two words. Do you know what those two words are? DFree. By the way, he's my guest, in case you couldn't tell. Do you know what those two words are that I'm talking about?
Summon rates.
Well, not summon rates, but that's, yeah, that's another one for the future.
Power creep.
Power creep, yes. Now, before we start, do you want to kind of define power creep in one quick sentence?
Well, one quick sentence would be, this guy used to be really good, and now he's just subpar now.
Yeah, and a big example, like the most famous example from recent times, is Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Super Saiyan 4 Goku comes out along with Vegeta. They're both hitting incredibly hard, and literally, what is it, like, not even a week later, they release LR Gohan, and it's just the damage difference was just comical. And it's like, okay, well, maybe they'll do something else, you know, to make up for it. And then what happens, a month later, we have LR, Majin, Vegeta. On top of that, we got other units. I feel like every single, I hate this freaking phrase, quote-unquote, Neo-God unit hits hard. You got, Angel Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who's hitting for 1 million. You got Physical Cooler, who's doing like 1.5 million if you add up both the attacks. You got, Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, who are doing like 900k to 2 million, depending on, what they're going against. Basically, every single unit that's coming out nowadays is hitting really, really hard. Now, the question is this bad for the future of the game? And the reason why I bring that up is because I remember when Dokkan first came out, events were hard and challenging. You basically had to, well, number one, you didn't have HP, as DFree and I talked about before we started recording. But two, they were just challenging because you basically had to use specific units to get through the events. But now it's like, I asked a question, I was like, DFree, this is me asking you again, so feel free to answer again. Are you afraid of coming across an event in the future that you can't beat?
No, I'm not. I mean, the thing is that as long as you have, the good units in the game, obviously this doesn't pertain to everybody because everybody's situation's a little different with their accounts. But as long as you have the new shiny toy, you can beat anything, and that's kind of the way that the game is.
But that's the problem. Now, to make up for the amazing power that the power boosts are happening, or the power creeps that happen to every single unit, they basically have to make the game harder and harder. But again, not everybody has every single unit. If you have only one God unit, you're going to use only that one God unit in that team. So basically, they're making this game to the point where it's going to cater to the hardcore players more and more every single week, because what's going to happen is imagine like a month from now, they have all these new shiny events happening, but if you're new to the game, you can't beat them. So you are less likely to want to keep playing the game just due to the fact that you won't be able to do anything. Your rank is low, which again kind of falls in responsibility of the player, because the player has to play themselves, level up and get all these units, play through all the quests. By the time you beat all the main quests, you should be around rank 150 to 200-ish. Which case you can run a pretty decent team. But again, if you don't have the good units, then you can't really do anything. So what do? You either decide whether you're going to give up or, keep trying to get something until you get something good. Now, again, it's cool if you're a hardcore player like me and DFree. Like I said, every single unit that comes out, we're going to try to pull for those units and build the best possible teams, because that's the kind of players that we are. We love playing this game. But like everybody else, or I should say the average player, I feel like would hurt more and more in the future, just due to the fact that the game is going to become more harder. They won't necessarily have every single unit. They won't even be able to beat the unit. So it's like, where does this put this game in the future? So that's the kind of the question. What do you think about that? What's your, outlook for the future of this game if we're heading in the exact same direction?
Well, the thing about it is the game's been headed in this direction for quite some time now, which honestly is a little bit glaring, and it's weird to me how they can sustain it, because probably just a lot of that falls on the shoulders of the more hardcore players and the guys that are willing to spend a little extra. Not to get into the debate whether or not you should or shouldn't spend on this game. It's totally up to you as the player, but I think that's what it comes down to, because like we talked about earlier, power creep wise, these units have been getting progressively better. And now the cool thing is, it's obviously sarcastically speaking, you're not a good unit at this point, which I don't really particularly mean that, unless you can hit for 1 million damage, right? So the godlies all come out and they hit for 1 million damage. Of course, you have supporters, you have key changers, stunners, whatever you run on your team, sealers, whatever. The thing about it is you talked about it, the game will progressively just get harder and harder, which does not cater well to, once again, the demographic of players that are not willing to spend money on the game due to personal preference or whatever the case is, to where they can't really keep up with that. And it's been doing that for a while now. I mean, around the time Gogeta came out is when, most of this stuff started taking off. And the game has gotten a little bit more free-to-play friendly, I'd like to say.
Can we talk about Gogeta for a second before we keep going?
Yeah,
now,
no problem.
Okay, so a lot of you guys might not have been there for when Gogeta came out, but I remember that's the first time I started playing Dokkan was around the release of Gogeta. Well, he was around on the JP side of the game. I was still mainly on Global, but the first time I played JP, and I remember I picked a Gogeta as a friend. I was like, oh my god, this guy's hitting for like 150,000, just destroying stuff left and right. And like a boss like Broly, who had like not even 1,000,000 HP, that was like 2 shots and it was done.
Yeah.
Like when Gogeta came out, he broke the game. Let's be real.
He did.
He broke the game.
Yeah, I mean, even if you were running like a mono team, for example, you'd still bring a Gogeta lead and a Gogeta friend.
Yeah,
which is all AGL units or whatever.
Yeah, and then like, to make up for the massive damage, because they broke the game again when they released nuking, basically, which I remember I talked to the producers around the time, and I was like, did you guys expect nuking to take off? And they were like, yes and no. We knew what we were doing, but we also didn't realize that people were going to like do it like that to the point where, people are running it.
Every boss fight.
Yeah, on every single boss fight. So they realized that, and how did they make up for it? They split the bosses up into phases. Now, basically, to nuke, it's impossible. Well, I don't say it's impossible. It's just not very efficient. Just because by the time you get to the final phase of a boss, you're gonna have to have items or something. So you don't want to like waste your nuking. Which, by the way, when we say nuking, we're talking about using orb changes to change the whole field and then do one giant attack with nuke
and
leads.
the nuke leaders, which means you don't have all the HP to sustain either. So it's honestly just counterintuitive to nuke at this point. So.
Well, yeah. With that said, though, like they realized certain things that they'd done did break the game. But again, they made up for it and fixed it. Now the question is now we're to the point where every single new unit coming out is hitting for 1,000,000, basically 1,000,000 plus. When I say about new unit, I'm talking about like the God leads. Yeah. I'm not talking about like physical Super Boo who supports the leader, but like what does that mean for the future? Like, is the game going to get to the point where the developers are going to be cornered and they'll have to give the game up and do something new? Or do you think, personally, they'll be able to figure a way out of the hole that they dug and keep the game going over the course of the next year? So
yeah, I mean, the thing about it is they have a couple of good things in place here, right, that help players maintain competitiveness. One of the main things is friends. You can always take a top-tier friend with you just about all the time if you have them as an option, which you probably need to rank up to get better friends. That's one of the things that they have in their corner. Of course, like I was saying previously, they have gotten a bit more free-to-play friendly with better leader skills on these easier-to-acquire units. For example, Angel Super Saiyan 3 Goku, he's an option for that too. As far as the game progressing, they also have the hidden potential system. That helps and hurts because now you have units hitting harder, but I digress. The weaker guys that are a little bit easier to acquire become a little bit better to improve. So as far as all of that goes, I honestly just see them continuing the same mantra, which may not be a good thing, but they've established something that could work over and over again. Eventually, we're going to see boss fights that are Super 2, Super 3, Super 4, which obviously they're Super 2 now, but, I'm saying they could just keep going and going, and then we'll just see weaker variations of that, just Super 1, Z-Hard, things like that, to where you can still compete if you pull the new unit. You may have to spend a little bit longer due to metal drops and things like that, but they've already been doing it, and it's just they're going to keep doing it.
My honestly big suggestion, and by the way, before I finalize the video, the one thing I want to ask you guys is, what's your favorite hardest hitting unit right now that you have, or might not personally have, but you like it anyways? Comment that down below. For me, I gotta go with Cooler. Cooler's my favorite one right now because it's so much fun to use. But we'll talk about that another time. So just comment your favorite. Actually, DFree, what's your favorite?
Gohan, because Gohan gets that one extra key per orb, so like he's almost always at 24 key. It's just ridiculous.
I want to say Gohan, but me not having him hurts me. Yeah. And you, Mr. I pulled Majin Vegeta.
Well, I don't have Gohan on my main account. I have on alt. It doesn't count. It's not the same.
This guy. So what I was gonna say is honestly my biggest suggestion to the developers, and I've actually personally suggested this myself before. They should honestly work on a PvP system, because if they can develop something where friends can play amongst each other, the game won't have like a shaky future. Because I still, like right now looking at it, I still feel like that they could hit that snag at one point where it's like, crap, everything's too overpowered, and if we take the game in the wrong direction, it could be an ultimate end to the game. But if they have something like PvP where friends can like play with each other, that can at least give a little bit more focus around people forming their own teams just so they can fight each other. And if they can do like events, tournaments, and stuff like that that are actually more user based as opposed to like fighting a computer and doing a world tournament, which is like a formula every single month.
It's weird, man, because like they introduced Battlefield, and Battlefield was a wash. It's not fun to do at all. They need something else.
I don't want to say it's not fun. It's just it's not fun to grind.
Yeah, grind.
When I first played Battlefield, I thought it was a cool idea until I realized, oh, I need to do this a lot of times to get 35,000 medals
so
just to get 7.
Consuming.
Yeah, that's the one problem I have with Battlefield. Battlefield's cool. I'm glad they tested something new, but honestly, if the developers just happen to be watching this video, which I doubt they are, I'm gonna say it again. Multiplayer is the future of this game, and if they just keep, going in the direction where they're just introducing power creeps more and more, where in maybe a year from now, every unit will be doing minimal 5 million damage. It's gonna be a weird ecosystem where it's like the bosses will have to have 20 million HP or something, or have some kind of system in place that stops units from doing a lot of damage. Because Super 17 was a smart idea. Super 17. Even if you hit for a bajillion, you couldn't hit more than 300,000 on him if you had his barrier up. That was fun. That was cool. That was very interesting. And I guess they could do stuff like that where, if you do physical ultimates or super attacks or key super attacks, they get absorbed or counter and yada, yada, yada. They could do something around that. But at the same time, I feel like they could also just focus on the PvP side where they give the player something else to do instead of just, going up this ladder and potentially preparing the game to fall off the ladder. So, I don't know. Comment section below, let me know your thoughts on the fears or the future of this game. If you think power creep is going to ultimately be a problem in the future, or if it's nothing at all or completely neutral. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. DFree, anything else before we end this?
No, it was it, man. Thanks for having me on. It was definitely a fun video, fun topic. Just personally, I think that, it's tough to say that, power creep could be the end of it, but maybe it will be. I just feel like they've done it for so long. That they've figured it out, and I do think that they're going to keep trying to introduce new things, and PvP would be a cool thing, something that I'm sure they've probably thought about or explored in the last couple years the game's been out, so we'll see. But I can't promise you that, since damage is attractive, I can't promise you that one day there may not be units that just casually hit for 3, 4, 5 mil, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not afraid of the future, but what I will say this is, if they keep doing events where it's like Super 17 where it'll stop your damage, then what's the point? It's I just pulled Majin Vegeta, could do 27 million, but does it matter if you're only hitting for 300,000 and get Super 17? The answer is not
advantage,
really.
Yeah.
You can't release a card and then nerf it for events. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. I feel like they've done this enough where they dug themselves a hole and they dug themselves out. So I think they know what they're doing. But at the same time, I'm also kind of weary about what's going to happen a year from now, and whether or not every single unit that comes out will just be hitting casually for a million left and right, where it's nothing. Because remember, dude, do you remember this? The first time he used Gogeta, I was like, wow, 100,000 damage. And now it's if a card hits for 100,000 damage, it's wow, this is comical. This is trash. Why am I using this? Yeah.
Well, a lot of that goes on the leader skills too. That's a whole nother debate. The higher that buff gets on the leader skills, the more OP these guys get. Because that same 150 Gogeta does, he now does 1.2 mil. So
I just want to say, 120% is the max god leads that you can get right now. In a year from now, I guarantee you we're gonna see 200%, 300%, 400%, and that's when it will get ridiculous. But that said, let us know your thoughts on whether you're not, or whether you fear or don't fear the power creep and how it could do damage to the game in the comment section below, or if it's going to do nothing, and what else you'd rather see the team focus on, such as PvP. Feel free to kind of discuss whatever you want down below. I like doing these Dokkan discussions because they're a little bit different, and it allows us to kind of come together and talk about the game that we love so much. With that said, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to check out DFree in the description below. I'm sure you guys already know who he is. Leave a like as well, and I guess that's everything. So we hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. This has been DFree and Rhymestyle, and I'm going to pull Majin Vegeta just to get back at DFree in my next video. I hope. Fingers crossed. I don't know. Peace.